Hello, my name's Naomi Sykes and I'm a professor in the Department of Archaeology. We know that archaeology is all about people, but I'm actually interested in studying animals to look at their remains so that we can find out about what people ate and how they transformed their environment. I'm going to introduce you to some of the people who are working with me.
I'm Sean, I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Exeter, and like Naomi, I too specialise in the analysis of animal remains, but particularly looking at the biomolecular analysis of them, so looking at stable isotopes, proteins, and things like that.
Hi, I'm Jack. I've just finished an undergraduate degree at the University of Exeter in archaeology, and I've carried on to do a master's in zooarchaeology.
So the three of us are all really interested in animals, and what better animal to explore than the cat? Everybody loves cats. So we've been running a program to explore everything about cats. When were they introduced to Britain? Because they're not native to the British Isles. In fact, they're not native to anywhere in Northern Europe, not the domestic cat. What we have is the wild cat, those are native. And so we've been interested in exploring when did the domestic cat arrive in Britain. We've done a program of radiocarbon dating, and we can now say with a huge amount of confidence that domestic cats were introduced in the Iron Age. But we have other questions as well. One of the things that we're really interested in is, why do we feed cats fish? If you go to pet stores and supermarkets, you'll see rows and rows of fishy treats for cats, but marine fish is not part of a domestic cat's natural diet. So why have we got this association? And that's something that Jack's been exploring for his undergraduate dissertation.
That's right. So for my undergraduate dissertation, I was looking at the diets of cats in the domestic context changing over time. I had samples from all the way back to the Iron Age, all the way up to the post-medieval period, and I performed stable isotope analysis on them so I could work out what kinds of foods they were eating.
Sean, do you want to tell us a bit about what stable isotope analysis is?
Sure, so this works on the principle of you are what you eat, and what you consume becomes the building blocks of your skin, of your bone, of your hair. And so what we can do is we can do chemical analysis to work out what people might have been eating, where they might have lived, the climate conditions in which they occupied. And one of the key things that we can do is distinguish between marine and terrestrial proteins. And that's really important for our analysis of cats to determine when people first began feeding cats fish.
Jack, do you want to show us the results of your research?
As Sean said, we can differentiate between marine and terrestrial diets using carbon, one of the most common elements in the body. Now, a carbon value of greater than -20 is indicative of a marine diet. So, as you can see, we've got a range of samples from across a variety of different time periods in Britain, from the Iron Age all the way through to the post-medieval period. So, as you can see, in the Roman period, while there are some samples that appear to be having a marine diet, it's much more in the Anglo-Saxon period that we get really significantly marine diets up to -17 for the carbon scale. My hypothesis is that this increase in marine consumption by cats in the Anglo-Saxon period is linked to increases in monastic traditions where diets would have been much more restricted and less meat would have been eaten, but more fish would have been eaten. And thus the cats would have been consuming the same kinds of foods as the people who were looking after them.
Jack, it's interesting that you say that, because I think those top samples that you've got there around -17 and around -18, I think they're all from monastic sites, aren't they?
That's right.
And it makes sense, I suppose, that monks would have cats and in abundance, because, of course, the monks were the people who were writing all of the manuscripts, and they therefore kept a lot of cats to eat the mice that ate their manuscripts. So there's obviously a very close association between monasteries and cats. And of course, as you were saying, Jack, monks were eating a lot of fish on a Friday. So perhaps that is where the association between cats and fish first occurred, and then of course became fossilized because monks were also writing manuscripts talking about what we should be feeding cats. And so today we have this belief that cats should be fed fish. But there are broader implications here. We all know that the fish in the sea are being overfished, and when you buy yourself fish for your dinner, you probably would make quite a lot of effort to ensure that it's sustainably sourced. But when it comes to buying cat food, no one cares. We have all of this fish being put into cat food, and no one cares if it's sustainably sourced at all. The problem there is that actually the pet food industry is responsible for a lot of overfishing. Cat food that includes fish is not just made of fish that's been offcuts of human food, that actually pelagic fish stock are being hoovered up from the seas to make pet food. So therefore, if we think about the whole archaeological story of cats, it's due to monasticism that we even have this association between cats and fish. And now it's something that's doing a huge amount of environmental damage.
Absolutely, and the data that Jack has generated has helped us to secure a much larger Wellcome Trust funded project. Our project is called From Feed the Birds to Do Not Feed the Animals, and it's a collaboration between the universities of Exeter, Reading, Roehampton, and the National Museums of Scotland. And what we really want to do is a real deep dive into the origins of animal feeding and look at the human, environmental, and animal health consequences of it.
And through this project, what we're going to be doing is exploring all of the hypotheses around domestication, animal domestication. Is so widely considered that humans domesticated animals for food, but our hypothesis is that maybe it was the other way around, that animals kind of were domesticated because people liked feeding them rather than eating them. So this project is going to be a really interesting exploration of human, animal, and environmental relationships. And if you want to learn more about it, you can have a look at our webinar, and the link is here. And what's even more brilliant about all of this project is that it all stemmed from Jack's undergraduate dissertation.
Well, I'm glad to have been a part of it.
So I'm looking forward to finding out what's going to come out of your master's thesis now, Jack. Do you have any ideas about what you're going to be doing?
Well, having spent so much time looking at this data set of cats, I might consider continuing to see what other types of analysis I can do. I've really enjoyed being a part of this project, and it's for that reason that I've stayed on at Exeter University to do my master's.